Hi, and welcome to this week's Social Media Switch Off with me, Trina Kavanagh-Thomas. I am the alternative personal trainer running an alternative personal training program. Today, I have the beautiful Charlotte Fitzgerald with me. We are going to talk about being for a better you, being a better you, and also connecting that to your pelvic floor, Pilates, because Charlotte's been doing this for 7 years now. She's a mum of two. She's been doing such amazing work for so many women for over those years, and she's just really developed and honed into her craft. So welcome.
Thank you.
It's so lovely to have you on. So lovely to have you on. So tell us about, because obviously you've got into this. How did you get into Pilates, for instance?
So Pilates for me actually started as a hobby. So when my daughter was 3 months old, I, as any mum, wanted to get out the house and do something for myself and get away from the breastfeeding and the screaming baby. And because that was my second child. So I had a toddler running around and a 3-month-old. So I started going to the Pilates classes once a week, really loved it. And then I separated from my children's dad. And the kids were like 2 or 3 years old at that point. And I was like, right, what am I going to do? I need to find a career that I can do around the children. I can do flexibly when they're at school and I won't need any childcare. And then I was like, oh, I like Pilates. Why don't I do that? I had no idea how hard it was going to be because I was, like I said, I had a 2-year-old, I had a 3-year-old, I was 30 years old, and I had to learn about anatomy and physiology, which was really tough. I was like, Pilates. And it was a massive, massive struggle. I touch upon that a little bit more in my chapter in Voices of Hope about the struggle that I had. But yeah, I found it really, really tough. And after 2 years, I did qualify quite thankfully. And I was teaching in between then. I was able to teach as a student, which was great. So I was still kind of getting out into the community. And funnily enough, the lady that the classes I used to attend at a physiotherapy clinic is where I started my first classes. So she took me under her wing and said, yeah, you can teach here as a student, which was fabulous. And I still teach her classes now.
Wow, that's
mad. Obviously, I do them online now, but I've had so many different ages of clients. So people, I would say probably from their 20s, 30s, way up to, I think my oldest client was 75 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy journey. And like I said, I was very grateful to finally qualify.
You know what? You're not the only one who took a while to qualify as well. So hands up on the anatomy and physiology part, because that was tough.
It was really tough because I found the toughest was the revision material was very different. The language was very different in the test, like completely different. And you're like, this is not what I revised. Because I think they gave you like the short term words for the muscles, and then in the exam they gave the long term ones, which they never taught us. And you're like, oh, that's great, isn't it? Yeah, it took me 4 times to pass my level 3 exam, so it was really
well done.
Really
and that's the thing, sometimes it can take a little bit of time just to get everything into your head. I'm not sure about you, but I'm definitely a practical learner, so I learn by actually doing it. So I learn by seeing someone moving and going, okay, yeah, that's that, and that's connected to there, and this is what's going on here. And are you the same? Would you say
I think a lot more. I think for me though, what I found is, obviously, I don't know if it's because I had 2 young children. I had a part-time job at the weekend and I was teaching my classes during the week, and my daughter was actually part-time in nursery at the point. So I had one in part-time, one in full-time. So the only time I got to revise was in the evenings. I was falling asleep in front of my laptop at 8 o'clock. And you know, when you kind of feel yourself sliding down the sofa. And then you wake up an hour and a half later with the laptop in your lap and you're like, oh, well, that's my revision gone. So yeah, that was probably part of the issue. But I made some adjustments and I managed to, sort it out. But
I think it takes some adjusting, doesn't it? Because I think that this conversation is going to be really good, because I think we need to touch on failure, which is coming, which I think is coming up for a lot of people at this moment in time, because when we go through that situation of failing something, how did you feel at the time when you were in that test and you knew at that point, oh crap?
I felt so overwhelmed and just again didn't understand the questions, because what it actually turned out to be that I kept getting the same questions wrong. Because after my third time of failing, I called the people and I was just like, what am I doing? Because I kept getting the same percentage. And I said, like, what is it? And they was like, look, what we're going to do is we're going to send you the subjects, obviously not the questions, the subjects areas that you need to touch upon, because you keep getting the same 8 questions wrong. So I was going in there thinking, oh, I know this one, probably ticking it, and it was the wrong answer every time. You're just like, you know, so for me, it was really tough. And I think, because normally I would sit the exam and then 2 weeks later I would get the result. So then obviously the 2 weeks that you're waiting for the result, you're not revising.
Yeah.
And then you have to start all over again. And I was like, oh my God. So it was really, really deflating. And again, like when you've had that 2 weeks break and you've kind of got out of that momentum of doing your revision, to then start all over again was really disheartening. And just receiving that email as well is just the most horrible feeling. But thankfully I had a good support network around me that said, look, don't give up. And I was like, why am I even trying? You know, because you want to give up at that point. But I knew that eventually I would pass. Obviously not as quick as I wanted to.
But that's a good thing, because it makes you a better trainer. It makes you a better trainer. And because there's so many things that happen to us, so much stuff can go on in our lives and we can fail things. Gosh, if I think I failed one of my modules for my degree, and I remember sending it in and I'm just in tears going, that's done. That's done. And then when I got it back, because I'd had time to process it, and that's the difference here, isn't it? It's a processing bit. I realized, I can resit it anyway. Life is not the same as what it was then, because there was a lot of stuff going on at that time. But life isn't the same, and I take it life changed then because you learned something new. I take it during that time. And when you went to go resit it, how was that?
Well, again, I think probably the final time that I attempted it, I was probably in a slightly better headspace. Because I was like, look, it is what it is. There's nothing I can do. I'm here. I just got to try and do my best. So I think you kind of end up kind of sugarcoating it for yourself. You kind of boost yourself up in the end. Just like, you know what, just go with it. What can you do? Especially when you've already failed it 3 times. But
it means,
do you know what I mean? It gets a bit easier.
Better. It means that you practice better. I think we've all gone through this where we fail. I remember failing my driving test within the first 5 minutes of doing the driving test. And I'm a great driver now. And trust me, I can reverse park like nothing else. So when you fail your driving test within the first 5 minutes and you're forced to do the rest of the test, and then the man at the end of it is not very nice to you, right? So you end up in tears running out the car. Oh God.
I could do better than that. I failed mine in the last 30 seconds.
Oh no!
Because I almost ran someone over.
Oh my God.
I hit the accelerator instead of the brake, and the instructor had to hit the brakes. And I will never, ever forget seeing that man diving out of the way. It was the most, I still laugh now because he was so shocked that a car was coming towards him. But I had passed up until that point. I can say that I failed with a dangerous. Okay, a dangerous.
Oh
so
no!
I failed, big time.
But the thing is,
but the next time I did amazing.
Yeah, but you drive now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So So
and I'm extra vigilant with what I do. I'm looking everywhere. I can see the mad person behind me speeding and changing lanes, and I see everything now.
Because it's, you know, it's okay to, you know, I kind of feel that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail. Things aren't as bad as what we perceive them to be. And I was actually chatting to someone today about this as well. And I think what came up was the connection between school and failing. Now, I don't know about you. I know that for me, I was put into isolation at the when just before my GCSEs due to the braids that I had in my hair. So I had like different colored braids in my hair, and I was put into isolation because of these braids, even though all other girls had highlights and things.
Yeah.
So so on that day I walked out and I just went back for my GCSEs. But I ended up getting, you know, quite low grades from that, and then thinking, oh, I'm not as good as I think I am. Oh, I'm a failure. And a lot of stuff, you know, sometimes comes from school. I remember speaking to someone else about this as well. Have you ever felt that from school as well, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, to be honest, I think for me, I kind of got in the wrong crowd from year 9, and then that person actually got suspended from school. So in year 11, I had to claw back some grades.
Yeah.
So I didn't do nowhere near as well as I should have done either. And yeah, that feeling. So I guess, yeah, from a young age, I was
you've
dealing
done
with
so
failure.
much better now.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was a completely different person then. I think I was more of a people pleaser then. Yeah. And that's probably where I've become a lot more stubborn and a lot more, you know, strong-headed. And
absolutely. And I take it that then creates for being a better you, right?
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. And I think that's what it always is trying to be the best version of yourself. And for me, I want to try and empower people to do that from the inside and out. Hence with obviously a pelvic floor. Obviously I take aloe vera every day. And then obviously with the external as well. So do you know what I mean? There's a lot of factors for it. And obviously through my journey and my story. So, you know, and I don't do it as much as I was before, but I've done a lot of live videos and a lot of kind of very personal ones as well, where I've revealed a lot of stuff. And a lot of people have resonated with it, especially women. You know, where people are not honest about some of the stuff that they have been through and they've overcome. And to be honest, yes, it doesn't feel nice at the time, but I believe that everyone goes through those struggles for a reason, because it does make them a much better person, a much stronger person. You take less crap from people as well in the end. And you kind of stand more in your power than you would if you hadn't have gone through that. Do you get what I mean? So
absolutely. It makes you stronger. You know, it makes you stronger in the person that you are, and you know, in the person that you have become. Because I know for a lot of people at this moment in time, imposter syndrome is coming up massively for many people. I think you know that I talk a lot about cycles and things like that, and how cycles can connect to imposter syndrome and nutrition in particular. But I want to ask you, where would the pelvic floor fit into all that? Because I sense it's a seat of power.
Yes, well, to be honest, recently that's been brought to my attention a lot more. But I think we don't realize how much happens in our pelvic floor, especially for women as well, and the support that it gives our body. And also, you know, through my learning, I've learned how many muscles actually insert through that area. So if something is not right and something is unstable, then it's going to have quite an adverse effect in multiple ways.
Wow.
So and obviously you don't realize this, like simple things that we do on a day-to-day basis, like our posture and our breathing, affects that on a massive scale, and you don't even realize. And obviously through the company that I've done my pelvic floor course with to become a coach, they're really trying to get people at a younger age to know about their pelvic floor a lot more, because we're never ever educated about that in school. Yes, we find out about our menstrual cycle and stuff, but that's where it kind of stops. We don't know. No one knows what the pelvic floor does. Half of the people don't even know where it is until you're probably having issues or you're pregnant. And by that time, it's too late to know that there's an issue with your pelvic floor, because now you're carrying more weight in that area than you would have been doing previously. So I think it's a really good thing to at least try and get it somewhere into, you know, younger education, especially like teenagers and stuff.
Absolutely.
More people at a younger age are starting to suffer with pelvic floor issues than ever before, because they don't know about it. And yeah, most people don't even know what, our bodies are amazing, and you don't realize how much sits in that area. It's just crazy. And to be honest, I've loved learning about it. It's so interesting. And obviously for me, learning to be a Pilates instructor, yes, you learn about the anatomy and physiology, and yes, you learn a little bit about the pelvic floor, but it wasn't until I did this add-on course that I realized how powerful the pelvic floor is, because it's all just kind of like a blanket thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just very basic, just draw up from the back and the front. But then when you actually do the pelvic floor course like that I run, it's amazing. Like the ladies that I've had that have come through the other side, they're like, I've never learned so much. Do you know what I mean?
But that's a good thing. Yeah. That's a good thing, because we need it. This is what we need. Even, you know, even the work that I've done, I've not even learned as much about the pelvic floor as what you have. I know obviously from an emotional point of view, it's your seat of emotion. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on in there, and if there's anything upsetting that area, then you might feel, you know, some kind of lack of security maybe. But also equally as well, you know, you see a lot of adverts on TV, and I remember speaking to a physio about this that I know really, really well, and we were chatting about, it is not normal to be weeing yourself as you get older.
No.
However, it is normalized in advertising that, you know, you pop on a tenor lady and that's it. And it's like, no, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in your body. I know some things in terms of the ankles and things. The ankles can play a part, because there are connections between the ankle and the pelvic floor. But, you know, I'd like you to delve into this, because obviously this is going to teach me some stuff as well. So,
well, what it is, funnily enough, I was watching a lady's live video yesterday, and someone had mentioned, so she's an older lady, and she had mentioned that she needs to, wherever she goes on her days out, she needs to make sure there's a toilet there. I used to be like that. And then someone commented on it and said, oh, you just need some tenor lady, right? And then obviously I've come on there and I said like whatever, and she goes, and I said obviously about the pelvic floor, and she goes, oh, but that helped me then. And obviously she's an older lady, and they just think that it's normal, just pop a pad on and it's fine. And it has been completely normalized, but you don't realize that factors that can actually affect your pelvic floor: age, for one. People think it's just childbirth. I actually know a friend of mine who hasn't had any children. She's close to 40, I think, and she has pelvic floor issues. She's never had children, never. So with any other muscle in your body, if you don't train it, it will get weaker. It's the same as anything. That can be, again, it's the breathing, like I said, the posture, medication, your daily living. If you lift stuff in a certain way and you push down into your pelvic floor and not drawing up, then that can have an effect as well. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of people that probably, you know, what I'm saying, like the younger generation, they do a lot of squats, I would say, because that's the new thing. But how many of them do know that they should probably be, you know, pulling up their pelvic floor at the same time?
Absolutely.
For all we know, they could be lifting a heavy weight, bearing down into their pelvic floor, and then that will lead to issues later on in life. But it just, the education is just not there. It's just not there at all.
That's because most of fitness education is a lot of the time is based on men. It's scientifically done around a man. That's why it doesn't take into account women's cycles. That's why it doesn't take into account, like, you know, what's happening to the pelvic floor when you actually do those squats and stuff. Not only that, as well, your brain can disconnect as well. If it's not using a muscle anymore, it can just go, Okay.
There's
Well, that's not
also
to care about.
exactly that. And something else that has come up, like that I teach in my course, is that it's not just about having a weak pelvic floor, it's about having an overactive one. So anyone who lives with pain, any stress, any anxiety, their pelvic floor is going to be up here. So even if they try to do a pelvic floor contraction, because they're so high tone, they're going to have other issues. And people don't realize that. So you can you can have issues if it's weaker, and you can also have issues if it's too tight. So if you're a very tense person and you're always like this all of the time, your pelvic floor is going to be like that. So we teach people to learn to relax as well. So it can be either way. And like I said, it's so, the knowledge is just amazing. I was just like, whoa, it just blew my mind, because obviously being a Pilates instructor and teaching postnatal as well, and also having incontinence issues myself, even as a Pilates instructor, do you know what I mean? I realized that I hadn't been educated correctly in the pelvic floor myself, because like I said, it's just your general, this is Pilates. And unless you kind of delve into it and you kind of really focus on that one area, you're just not going to learn it all at all. And I learned so much. So I did it just as an add-on.
Yeah.
And like I said, it blew my mind so much. I was like, I need to teach this. I really need to teach this, because there's so many people that don't even know. Do you know what I mean? Even down to my mum and my nan, bless her. She's not with us anymore, but they always had incontinence issue, and they never, ever, like from when I was a kid, my nan was like that. But it's just, there's no access to it. They just think, oh, it's just age, or it's just childbirth. Yes, it is age, and yes, it can be childbirth, but it can be fixed. So most people don't even realize that they can fix it. They just think, oh, well, that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? That's just a normal thing to happen.
Absolutely. You know, I can't help but like totally agree with you, because, you know, if anything happens to the body, I think sometimes we're so quick to then go, okay, well, I can either pop a pill for it, or I can do, you know, I can do something else, rather than going, okay, how do I fix this? How do I fix it? Because you can actually then go on to lead a normal life. You know, life, you don't have to, you know, keep weaning yourself, or you know, or have the, you know, or have to worry about, you know, there being a toilet somewhere, or anything like that. So it's really great to have you on here, and I need to be learning this too. So I know that I need to be learning some of this as well. Tell us about, you know, tell us about Pilates and how this all ties in together.
So for me, obviously, again, posture is about body awareness. It's about strengthening your core, so your core unit, improving your posture, focusing on your breathing. So a lot of the stuff kind of does tie in really, really well with it. And again, I'm always in my classes talking about watch out points all the time. So you'll have people that be like, oh yeah, just do this exercise, and then leave you to it. And I've always been a very, very instructive instructor, I would say. Like to the point where I'm always like, right, okay, this is what you should be feeling, this is what you shouldn't be feeling. If you feel this, you should adjust it. And even more so now online, because I can't be hands-on, and I can't physically move people. But I've had lots of people say that, especially like mums and stuff, that their pelvic floor has improved just from doing the Pilates. But it's having that acknowledgement, it's listening to your body, it's becoming more aware of what it does, and the smaller groups of muscles. So that's what Pilates does. It's not like you're, you know, you're weightlifting and you're jogging or anything like that. It works on the smaller supporting muscles. Absolutely. The ones that you wouldn't even know existed until the day after you do it, and you go, oh, what's that? You start feeling all these different muscles you didn't even know you had. Do you know what I mean? Because people, that's the thing with Pilates, people will be like, oh yeah, do you know what I mean? I didn't feel it. But you wouldn't necessarily feel it at that moment, but the next day you probably will, and after a few sessions you will as well. Once you become aware that those muscles exist, that's when you're going to start to do it. And I've had a lot of people that will come into my classes. I've even, funnily enough, had postnatal ladies come and not come back because it's not intensive enough for them. But you're like, but you're postnatal, it's not supposed to be intensive, it's rehab. Do you know what I mean? After you've had a baby,
absolutely,
you need to rehab, you need to work on your conditioning. you need to, you know, wake those muscles up again, because obviously you've had all your relaxing and all these hormones and stuff. Do you know what I mean? The body has to take time to go away. And I think it's promoted for women to just harden fast and get your previous body back. But anybody that has had a baby knows that they're never getting that same body back again, ever. But if you work on it, you'll get a better one than you had before, because I'm probably in my best shape that I've ever been before I had kids. Again, because I didn't know about posture. I wasn't aware of my body. I wasn't aware about pelvic floor, apart from when the physio just said, oh, just draw up. Draw up what? How do I know that I'm engaging my pelvic floor? Whereas with this course, again, it's like we try it in different positions. So the body, if it's working and it's in tune with itself, it will naturally engage the pelvic floor when you breathe, when your posture is correct. And also in certain exercises that you do, you won't feel the pelvic floor naturally react. But if you're in that, so say for instance, when you come down into a squat, unless you're bearing down, your body will naturally draw the pelvic floor up. But then it's only when you stop, hold that position and relax, you realize the pelvic floor has engaged. And it's certain things like that that we do, that I do within my course, that certain positions, so you can feel it. And I think that's what it is. It's knowing how the body reacts to the pelvic floor and feeling it relax. Because once you can feel that relax, you know that it's engaged naturally. And it's just kind of just getting all those foundations correct before you start adding in like more functional stuff.
Absolutely. And I completely agree, because, you know, because I used to teach women after birth and stuff, and do just smaller exercises and things, checking obviously for their abdominals, see if they were still switched on, obviously feeling out in them. Obviously it's COVID now, so it's a little bit different, but I used to be able to feel out in them, you know, which muscles were coming on and where, just so they could train better. And then they've obviously now gone on to do like marathons and stuff like that. But I'm not saying they did marathons after having a baby. No. It took them years to get to that point. And when, you know, when obviously photos come up on your profile and stuff, they're little babies at the time, obviously they're in school now, but you can see how long it takes, but they come back stronger than ever. It's none of this, we want things so fast because we've lost something. Yeah. And the thing is, as you said, and I think you hit the nail on the head perfectly here, you're not going to get the body back, but you're going to get something better, better than what you had before. And I would say I was in better shape than what I was as a teenager, that's for sure. I was possibly caning it a little bit too much at that time anyway, but you know, with what you're saying, you know, some people go, oh well, I don't, you know, because I don't feel it. It's all that pain, no gain business, you know, because we feel like we should have to feel, you know, our muscles hurting every time we work out, and that's not the case.
Well, normally if it's hurting, you're pushing it too hard.
And if you felt it every single time, you're going to end up with an injury, because your muscles are going to be so tired that you're just going to go, you're going to break at some point.
You're going to struggle to walk up and down the stairs. After leg day.
Absolutely. You can get to that point. You can get to that training point where you are lifting weights, where you are doing that kind of stuff. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because I almost had a prolapse, right, after my third kid. So I had all three kids by C-section. And the first one, I was fine. My body kind of like just snapped back into shape. I say it was fine. It just snapped back into shape for my thinking and feeling. My second one took a little bit longer. And my third one, holy crap, that just took a long time. And 14 weeks afterwards, I was back teaching because it was my job.
Yeah.
And 6 months in, I thought, you know what, I'm ready to lift a kettlebell now. And I'd actually been doing Pilates because I swear by Pilates. I think it's brilliant if you are, you know, having a baby or even not having a baby, go do Pilates.
Yeah. It's good conditioning for the muscle.
Absolutely. If you're running, exercising, Pilates, just go add something like that to your, you know,
Funnily enough, in lockdown, one of my clients actually recommended me to her Tai Chi community. So I did like a 6-week course with them. And she said that they all absolutely loved Pilates after that, and said, you know what, it really complements, because again, it's the body awareness, it's the posture, it's focusing on your core when you're doing all of those movements. They absolutely loved it. I've even kept some of those clients from that Tai Chi.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. But this is what it is. It's more of it's amazing if you're doing other exercises to complement what you're doing, because it's a completely different level to what you would be doing, say, in a gym or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And they are, and as you said, it is that kind of really nice compliment, you know, it complements what you're doing. If you are walking, running, whatever, it's good to have something conditioning to complement what you're doing. And I completely and wholly, you know, wholeheartedly with you on all of this anyway. And it does, you know, because if you do come back too soon, you may end up feeling as if you're going to prolapse. And people have been in that position before where they've had a prolapse and stuff. And if you feel like that's going to happen, like you're pushing down too much and you start to feel like some kind of rumbling, then stop. That's the best thing to do, is always stop. And if you are with an instructor, tell them. But yeah, you know what, Charlotte, I think like you do like such amazing work, and you know, you've really honed in on what you're doing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And it's been great to speak to you today. Where do we find you?
Where do you find me? I don't have a website yet. God, that's something I'm procrastinating over, but
that's all right. You'll get
but
there.
I'm on Facebook. So obviously I've got probably my personal profile is where I kind of put everything at the moment. I do have a Pilates page as well, but it's a really, really long name. But I can comment it below, so everyone's got the link. And also I'll put a link to my ladies' night. So I'm doing an information evening this Sunday coming up, where I'll just kind of touch upon obviously the pelvic floor, the pelvis, what it is, what it does, and also just answer some questions as well, because what it is I think a lot of people have questions they need answering, but they're too scared to do it. So obviously I'm putting it out that people submit their questions beforehand so that I can answer it for everybody, because there might be someone who doesn't want to speak up but needs that answer.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's an hour and a half, but it's just kind of something to kind of just summarize what I do already, and summarize my 4-week course that I do as well. So yeah, it's super exciting.
I think that's brilliant. So we'll pop the links below for where you can find Charlotte, and you can then go and ask her, you know, if you are having any problems, you know, with your pelvic floor, you know, maybe there's a lot of stuff going off in your life or whatever's going on for you, then get in contact with Charlotte. Because
also, I'll just add, what I've started doing recently is a 15-minute consultation call. So I can actually see what the issues are, and if it's Pilates they need to do, so if it is just conditioning they need to do, or if it is more of a structured pelvic floor course that they need to do. So just because I think what it is sometimes it won't convey well over a message, but if someone can have a chat and I can find out what the symptoms are, and obviously if it's not something that I can deal with, I can forward to a women's health physio, or to see if there's anything I can do to help. So yeah, I've started offering that recently, and yeah, That's it.
Brilliant. Well, send me all those details anyway, Charlotte, and then we'll pop them below. But thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no worries. So if you're watching this, we're on a Friday, 12:30 every week, 12:30 p.m. every week. So this is me, Trina Kavanagh-Thomas, switching off for the social media switch off. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.